Hey guys, this is Russ and this is She Wolf Alchemy. This is episode 1 in season 1. This episode we are going to be talking about emotional responses. On the show, you will have me, Russ, and my co-host, Neek.
Okay. Hi, I'm Neek. This podcast is basically about personal growth as millennials, transitioning through life and lessons learned along the way. A little bit about myself. I'm a social worker. I live in good old cold Ohio, and I'm a mother of one. I have a beautiful daughter. You want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so I am Russ. I am a social justice advocate. I am a mother. I live in a chaotic Atlanta. And I think with both of us, we are just two millennials, reaching our 30s, in our 30s.
Yes, I'm 30. I'm in my 30s.
I'll be there in a couple more months.
Yes.
But yeah, and just discussing and going through the things that the different phases of adulthood and different things you learn, and the different things specifically millennials are going to learn, because our generation is so different from everybody else's generation.
Definitely.
And I know me and you have had conversations before about this, but like when we discuss like our parents' marriages or what we saw amongst aunts and so forth, and what those relationships are like versus what relationships are like for women dating now.
Yes, and how we want to like stand up more and have a voice in marriage. It's just different. It's different.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think also, the generation before us, generation before that, our parents' generation. I don't know what their generation is called. I'm gonna call them the high tops. We're gonna call them the high top generation. So, the bell bottom generation.
Yes.
I do know, like, one of the things that is vastly different, especially in regards to dating and marriage, like, I think even though they weren't like our grandparents who just stuck through anything, I think they still had more ideas of, no, you have to get married and you have to have kids, and you better let that man be a man. Better let that man run that household.
But that's what men do, yeah. Or accept things that we don't really want to accept.
Yeah.
Because you have to stay in your marriage because you started it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even things like addressing mental health. For me, that is the biggest generational gap. I really feel like we are the first generation that recognizes that mental health is a thing. No, Dante just ain't like Uncle Junebug. Like, no, Dante and Uncle Junebug possibly have schizophrenia. We should look into it. But generations before, he was like, nah, he just like his granddaddy.
And the fact that they don't really recommend counseling or seeking therapy, like it's taboo.
It is.
And taboo. Why you want to do that? Are they thinking something wrong with them? Yeah.
And we are actually, our episode next week, we're touching on that. We're touching on therapy.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great episode. So on this episode, we're generally going into emotional responses. And what I mean when I say emotional responses, or what we mean when we say emotional responses, is how we react. How do we react inside ourselves to different stressors and different hurts? And how does our reaction magnify against everything else in our life? Whether it's for the good and for the bad. So, for me, when it comes to emotional responses, really, this last year has been like a shadow work year for me. Like, this all of 2020, currently 2021, has just been a year of me just learning more about myself and learning more about why I do what I do.
Same for me. I think it's like, I have been working through the whole pandemic, but it's just having time to slow down, because I'm usually traveling, I'm usually on the go, but it's just having time to slow down. And I'm like, my mind has been like thinking of everything, like, but it caused me to grow, because I sat down, I'm having time with myself to actually start thinking more about emotional things, or maybe traumas from childhood, or how different things affect me now, and more so how they affect me as being a mother. But I don't think before this year I even sat down to think about any of these things.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Like, especially the childhood stuff. Childhood stuff just was a big theme for me last year. Like, last year, it was almost like, what is that game? Is it Jenga with the box?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what last year was. Last year was a game of Jenga, and there was this piece that I knew I should not have pulled, but I just had this urge to pull it, and it made all my unconscious buried behind the shadows of the cabin behind the garage. All those unconscious thoughts, when that Jenga set fell down, they came out. I was like, oh yeah, you gonna do this? Okay, let's discuss this childhood trauma. Let's discuss
that you always like put to the back, that you never like dealt with. That's the word. Yeah, you never dealt with. Yeah.
And I think before we really get into it, it's important to get into me and Neek's personality, because Neek is such a sweetheart, and she's so caring, and she's a Pisces.
a true Pisces.
And she's so loving, and she's so caring, and you're extremely forgiving.
Yeah, I am.
And I think that when you get into your stuff, that's going to come out a lot about how you stress. Me, on the other hand, I like to say that I have the good daddy issues. Like, usually when you hear girls have daddy issues, it's like they're attracted to older men. They try to look for their partner to be a father figure. They don't know how to love because they've never seen a man love in a way that wasn't toxic. That's usually what people think of. I say I have the good side. None of them are good. They're all issues. But the way that I learned to process emotions and so forth was really shutting down. And it's something I learned from my father. My father was very good at just deciding not to love you anymore. And he will turn it back on. And I really want to stress, he's a great father. He's a great father. All of our parents have their own trauma. And while they raised us, they tried their hardest to keep us from the trauma that they endured. Yeah. And with our parents, their type of trauma was a lot different. And so they were able to keep that back. But then some other mental stuff came through that got passed on to us. And it's like, now our job to keep that mental stuff from getting on to our children.
Yeah. I think, like, with me, I had a good dad. He loved me. He showed me he cared, and he had to break the generational curses or whatever. Like, his father didn't show love to him,
Yeah.
So, because that's how it was back then. The man didn't show that. So I think my dad had to figure out how to show that he loved us, and he did show us, but it was just always the communication piece. I wish that we had more communication in my family. We loved each other. We showed we loved each other, but we didn't really talk about problems, or we don't really talk about things. So therefore, I just bottle it up, because I never talked about it as a kid. I never felt comfortable enough to talk about it. I just wanted to show them all the good, and I think that's, I don't know, that is why I bottle a lot up now. But my dad did show me, and that helped me. It helped me to look for a mate by modeling my dad, but also it still hindered me in relationships because I still had trouble communicating. or I still just want to be quiet because I don't want to rock the boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's just how I was raised too. I being quiet because I just want to come off like the best child, or I want to come off like everything is okay, but we never talked about problems. We loved each other, but we never talked about problems.
Yeah. I will say my family was somewhat similar. Both of and I'll say all three. I have three parents. I have my mom, my stepdad, that's who I was raised by. I have my biological father who, because of his job required him to travel around the world all the time. We weren't able to really form that regular father-daughter relationship, for the good or for the worse. But I would say with all three of my parents, they grew up in poverty. They grew up in poverty. My biological dad came from a third world country. He grew up in extreme poverty. My mom was one out of 7 kids. My grandma was very much my grandma, meaning she would just up and leave a man. So it's hard to do that with 7 kids. And so there's, periods where, my grandma was trying to figure out how to take care of 7 kids on her own. And so they had their struggles. And my stepdad, and let me make it clear, guys, if I say dad, that's who I'm talking about. If I'm talking about my biological dad, I always say biological father. But my stepdad raised me, so I always refer to him as dad. But when my dad, he grew up semi-poor. Like, they were poor, but they always had, like, food on the table, They might not know what's going to happen if the heat goes out, They might not, they may be eating a different type of bean every night for dinner. But, it was like that level of poverty.
Yeah.
But
I mean, so who had all the 7 kids? Your mom's side, you said?
Yeah. So my mom's mother had 7 kids. And my dad, we're going to get into this on another episode. My dad's father had a number we do not know of kids.
Okay.
And I can't remember what, because I feel like at one point in time I was told he was a postman, but that doesn't make sense for every other story I know. But he also was, he was a Rolling Stone, but he traveled a lot. Whatever he did, he traveled a lot.
Okay.
And so he has kids all over the world. Like, if you put together a picture of my dad, and one time my dad did send a picture of my granddad and his kids, like, my dad, you would recognize as a full Black person. And my grandfather is biracial. And, like, he has 2 sisters that look Indian. Just pure Indian, but their mother was Indian. Then you have other, like, there's so many mixtures. And there's so many different countries. They're all over. So he, that was a complex for him that he wasn't able to work through. My grandfather died last year, and that was something he was still never able to process
through.
Yeah. But, like, I know with my stepdad, he grew up in an abusive household, and so for him, being a father was, I am going to be loving, I'm not going to be abusive. My kids can talk to me. And he was big on that because he didn't have that growing up. He was big on, I tell my kids I love you, because he didn't hear that growing up.
I really think that was the generation back then. I think our parents are around the same age, and their parents are the same age, and your stepdad. But I just think that was just like the thing. Like, I'm providing for y'all, so that's enough. And I really love the fact that my grandpa tells us he loves us now. He makes it known. But I think he had to learn that from his kids, telling their kids. Like, maybe I should tell my grandkids I love them, because I never told my kids,
Yeah.
So it's good that he learned that too. But I just really think that's just how they rolled back then. Like, it's great how we are evolving,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Each generation. Even the generation right now, I really think they're great. Like, they ain't gonna let, of them protests. Just, that's a
Yeah.
whole nother thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, you're right. It is amazing to see the progress through generations.
Mm-hmm.
From the generation of you stayed with that man, even though we know about Carol Lil in the down the street. He come home, he pay the bills. That's my husband. I'm not gonna keep arguing with this woman down the street. He comes home to me. We went from that generation that, let's be honest, told their kids, no, baby, if that man ain't putting his hands on you, you stay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we went from that generation to, like our parents' generation, where a lot of things, at least I feel like for my parents, there was a lot of things that were just really tied to poverty.
Mm-hmm.
That, from what I can observe, created a lot of issues in regards to self-esteem in that generation growing up. I feel like that generation that crashed the market. Mm-hmm. That's the generation. I feel like, because they grew up in such poverty, or it was more working class type families. That's what the middle class used to be, working class type families. And I think from them, it was like, okay, well, we're not going to beat our kids. But yes, we are going to still get married. And yes, but now it's like, but let me start buying this house I can't afford, because I want to show people I am no longer Ray from down the street.
Yeah.
Poor. And don't get me wrong, our generation and whoever this generation is after us, they don't hold on to that part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, especially with social media. So it's making it even better. Even like worse. I mean, like, y'all gonna know everything I'm doing, because I know better,
Yeah.
So,
what's so weird to me? Like, all these like Birkin challenges seem so incredibly tone deaf to me. Like, all these celebs doing like this Birkin challenge, and then I live in an A, so, and you are frequently in an A, so you already know what it is in regards to that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Second home. Yes.
So I think anybody that lives in Atlanta, if you've lived in Atlanta at least 4 years, or if you've been a frequent enough visitor of Atlanta, like, when you see Atlanta celebs doing certain things, you understand it's smoke and mirrors. But their fans don't. Their fans don't understand that Atlanta has a whole smoke and mirror side to it.
And keeping up with everybody, yeah. And don't really have it, but we gonna act like we got it.
It's very easy to fake the front in Atlanta. Yes. Matter of fact, I was talking to one of my lawyers earlier today, and I was telling him, we were talking about something else, but I was telling him a joke, and I was like, you know what? Because he was telling me about one of his friends, and she's like, no, he got a good man, he got a good credit score. And I was like, okay, so where'd she find him? Like, is that what I'm doing wrong? I was like, because I keep running into men with good degrees, good jobs, an apartment, a luxurious apartment in Midtown, Lexuses, with a credit score of 440. And I don't know how they do it. I know some of it, but also I'm just like, so nobody has called y'all? Like, how y'all? Fascinating.
Interesting.
It is. It's definitely the land of living beyond your means. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into our emotional responses to stressors, and then let's transition into how we respond to hurt.
Okay, so my emotional response to stressors, I think I definitely shut down, but I like compartmentalize it. I just put it to the back burner. And it just like keeps going there until I can't hold it anymore, and then it's just like a blow up. Like say like I'm putting a stressor in a relationship to the back burner, it's gonna come out in a blow up, and they might be like, okay, where did this come from? It's because I have been shutting down and holding it in. and I kind, like you said, you're like, I'm the nicer one. So just like, you know, if I keep being nice, or if I keep acting this way, maybe such will change. But I honestly get to the point where I just can't hold it in anymore, and then it all comes out, which isn't good at all. So I think that's what I do.
Okay.
I just compartmentalize it, and I just hope for, or keep on waiting for opportunity to speak up about these things. But then I always talk myself out of each opportunity that I may get, and then everybody's confused because everybody might think I'm okay. It's just I'm not okay. I'm just like putting it in the back. I put my feelings and stuff to the back burner a lot, I guess.
And I think that is a lot more normal than people would think. Because I don't feel like our generation was taught how to communicate. I really think that's going to be, I want to say this generation doing TikToks right now, but they got me concerned. So I'm going to say like my daughter's generation. She a toddler, so my hope is in them.
This generation is speaking out more, but it's still like, I don't know. I think they are even more into getting help and seeking help and doing the work. I don't even feel like we were doing that like in high school and stuff like they are.
I don't know. No.
So I really feel like they are kind of. But I mean, some stuff worries me too, so I don't know.
I mean, I definitely do believe they're reaching out for help more. But in regards to like relationships, like I don't know if you pay attention to memes like that. I know I send you 1 million a day, but beyond me, if you pay attention to memes, but I'll see these kids making these memes or these TikToks, and what they're representing about love is so incredibly toxic. And if it was just one or two, like ha ha ha, yeah, I'm gonna kill you, then you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But when it's like, no, this whole generation thinks like toxic love is okay. They believe toxic love is okay. Like I know I seen a couple memes today that was just basically like, yeah, and I know that man hurt me, and I'm still gonna go back to him for the 5th time, and it's just like, oh, all right. I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah.
Or there was another one where it was like, I know I told my friends I was done with him and it was over, but I'm gonna give him 5 more years to try to prove me. And I'm just like, no, that's
yeah, definitely, yeah. And then we glamorize it too.
Yeah, we glamorize a lot of toxic behavior. And even though I think a lot of times we put it on as something funny, if you're young enough and that's what you keep feeding yourself, you'll start to believe that that's normal.
It's your reality, yeah.
Yeah. I know I didn't get to mine. So for me, when the way I react to hurt and stress is I just emotionally shut down. And when I say I emotionally shut down, I mean like I emotionally shut down. I will walk away from you in the middle of a conversation. I will walk away from you at dinner. I will tell you to stop the car as I am pulling up Uber on my phone. And it was because I have plans to walk away.
You definitely real.
Yes. You know the stories. And looking back, that was one of the things I had to really look back on last year. And I was like, yo, you're incredibly emotionally immature. Like, why is it? I had to really ask myself, why is it that you aren't able to handle conflict when it's something that really hurts you or stress you? And then for me in particular, I shut down when it's working with people I care about.
Yeah.
Specifically romantic partnerships. I know I shut down when I feel hurt, when I feel like I'm not listened to, when I feel stressed about the situation. Any type of negative feeling, I shut down and I'll just leave. I just leave. And actually, I was talking to, I'm not gonna say her name because I don't know if she wants her name said. I was talking to a girlfriend earlier, and I was telling her, because she was like, yeah, you know how when you argue with men, and I wasn't thinking it was a big deal. I was like, yeah, I don't argue with men. She was like, I I mean, you know, though, when y'all get into it, and I'm like, no, I don't argue with me. And she's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I just leave. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, the minute a man makes me bite my lip and tilt my head to the side, it's time for me to go. It's time for me to go. So I bite my lip, I tilt my head to the side, and then I go, okay, where's my purse? All right, there's my purse, there's my shoes. What else do I have over here? And I just let him keep talking while I'm walking around, getting all my stuff. So I don't have to deal with this. And I will walk right out. And we're not saying no words. And that's a part of that emotional kind of just shutting down. Like, no, I'm not about to have a mature adult conversation with you. I need to get away. And kind of like how you talked about emotionally compartmentalizing, one of the reasons I really believe I react like that is because of two things. The emotional compartmentalizing and then also the shutting down. One, in my childhood, kind of like you, it was like a family of wasps. There was don't get me wrong, there's always stuff going on. I was very aware of tension. I was very aware of when things were awry, but no one would talk to me and tell me what they were. And that's a difficult position to put a child in, because then the child starts wondering all this stuff, and the child is like now making assumptions in their head, and because no one's talking to you now don't feel comfortable talking to them.
Yeah
And it kind of creates this, you know, relationship between you and or dynamic within the family where it's like, no, if you're mad, you hold that in. And no one needs to really, you know.
I mean, in my family, they will say like, Johnny, they noticed that I hold stuff in. So when I was little too, they would say, you know, you need to let that stuff out, or you just need to talk to somebody. You can't hold all that stuff in. You seem like you're holding a lot of stuff in, but you didn't understand I never felt comfortable enough to do that, you know? So don't know why, but I didn't. So it's just like, and that still stuck with me as I went. Like, friends were like, you can do this, you can do that, but I don't really know why I don't feel comfortable with it. So, still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah.
Because even like you said, you know, I'm here if you need me. I'm like, I understand. I mean, I really do believe people when they say these things, but that doesn't make it any easier for me to ask for help or open up about things. So
no, and I do want to discuss that later.
We can discuss it, but yeah.
No, like the things to do to try to change that, or how do you even get to a point of recognizing this is a problem, but where did this problem start from?
Yeah.
With a lot of mine, the universe keeps adding new ones. The universe is just like, girl, you ain't shit. There's other stuff. I hope you don't think we're done. Like, there's so many other stuff that you need to figure out and get out your system. But I know for me, with the emotional shutting down, with the inability to have conversations about things that I want to bring up. I used to bring it up. I used to do it so aggressively. I used to be so aggressive. I got into therapy. My therapist was a male therapist. He's an amazing male therapist that needs to go back to taking insurance for pay. But he said to me one day, like, I was describing a situation. I was engaged. We were living together, having all types of issues, and I was going over a fight we had or something with him. And he was like, "You said that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "You said that to that man that you love?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, I guess." And his whole thing was like, "Grace, okay, you have a problem with trying to break a person down when you get mad." Because like when you get mad, it's not just I'm mad, let me show you how mad I am. It's really, you're like, okay, since you made me mad, you have to pay for that. You made me feel vulnerable, so guess what? You about to feel real, real vulnerable.
Right.
And I know where I got that from, out of respect from the people involved, where I got that from. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but that was because that's the type of arguments I saw growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just inside my family. Those were the arguments I saw inside my friends' families. Those were the arguments I saw at high school and stuff. Like, I didn't see couples sitting down and going, okay, so I ticked you off. I understand that I ticked you off. I'm assuming this is what ticked you off. And then you can come back with, no, that's not what ticked me. Like, no one actually sitting to like, okay, let's talk this out in a calm, good way. What I saw was more like, you hurt me, oh, I'm gonna hurt you. You hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back. Okay, well, we ain't talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then unless one of those people broke down and talked, then they just weren't gonna talk anymore. And you know this, that is an issue with me in relationships. Like, I will get mad, and like one of my big emotional responses, shutting down. I learned at a very early age how to turn off my love for people.
Yeah.
You know, I literally do not understand when I meet people and they're just like, yeah, I can't stop loving them. I'm like, yeah, you can. Like, I can show you. Yeah. But I had to recognize that a lot of that is from my childhood, and it was because, like, I had parents who were very big, and again, I want to express that they are amazing parents that just were trying to do their best, and they did better than what their parents did, you know.
And as parents now, I really think that I understand where our parents came from on different levels and different aspects. So you can really only do the best that you can.
Yeah.
And what's given to you. Because some things, I mean, it's helping me and you, like we talk about, you know, parent our children. But I definitely understand it more now. And I'm more forgiving of it now since I became a parent.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, since I became a parent, I realized, like, you know, it's hard to fix all of that and make sure it does not get projected on. They're gonna pick up something. Hopefully, we can minimize it as much as we can.
And we catch it. Like, sometimes I catch little things that she's doing. I'm like, oh, let me fix that. Because it's a mirror. It's a mirror. Like, oh, she caught on that from me. Like, let's reevaluate how we do this now. Yeah. But I give them way more grace because I'm trying to give myself grace, because you cannot be a perfect parent, you know. But
yeah, I'm trying to give my daughter a lot more grace, because I do realize she has been picking up on some of the bad habits that I'm trying to work out of. Going back to the emotional reactions, going back to the shutting down. Like, again, I know how to shut down when I'm mad. And my parents, my dad in particular, amazing dad, but he really wanted me to be somebody. He really wanted me to graduate without no babies. He really wanted me to graduate undergrad. He really wanted me to go get my master's. He really wanted me to get married to a good guy who could be a good provider. And in his mind, I just think he thought the way to do that was to be strict about it. And when I say strict, I don't mean like I couldn't come out the room, I wasn't allowed to watch TV, but it was like, okay, you have to maintain a 3-5.
Yeah.
You have to maintain a 3-5. And it was like, you're not allowed to have boyfriends. And, you know, I know a lot of girls are like, no, well, yeah, most parents are not like, you don't allow it. No. Like, when my dad found out I had a boyfriend, he did not talk to me for like 4 days. And I think that's how I learned in my head. And you know this story. Last year, my dad got hospitalized. He had a heart attack. And it was very scary because this is like his third one. And we found out during his first one that he has very thin veins. So his arteries. And so his arteries get clogged a lot easier than other people's. And it causes other type of issues. And they're like, hey, you if you don't start eating healthier, this is going to keep happening. And this was, at the time, this was my father's like second or third stint.
Yeah.
And so I was concerned. I couldn't get any detail. So I called my brother and I was like, hey, just so you know, Dad's in a hospital. This is the information I got. I haven't been able to reach him, but I'll keep you updated. Like 2 weeks went by and I didn't hear from my dad. And I called and I called my mom and was like, have you heard from him? She's like, yeah, I've told him to call you. And around week 2, he finally, because he was still in the hospital, he finally answered the call. And I was like, hey, Dad, you know, what's going on? He was like, you told Curtis. Yeah. And I was like, he was like, yeah, I told you last time. I don't want you telling anything about my health. I don't want people worrying unnecessarily. Now, keep in mind, he's talking about a conversation me and him had like 6 years ago at this point, when he had his second heart attack. And he was like, no. And it wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't something that serious. It was something like exhaustion or something. And I had called, my brother, and he got mad. But so this time, 5-6 years later, like, first of all, I don't even remember that conversation. But also, like, this is serious. When you told me not to do that before, it wasn't serious. When it happened this time, you were out in public. No one knew what was going on. You blacked out. It was very serious things. We couldn't get details for like a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, you were there by yourself. We could not come in to visit. So anyways, I say all that to say, after I told him, like, yeah, I told him because I didn't know if you were going to walk out. Like, I didn't know if you were going to leave the hospital.
But it's just the way he responded and shut it down. And
And his response to that was like, well, you got to learn. And I was like, I got to learn. He was like, yeah. I was like, so you didn't talk to me for 2 weeks because you wanted to teach me some type of lesson. And he was like, yeah. And then went back to his happy self and was talking about other things. But that triggered something in me in my childhood, because in my childhood, that's how I was taught lessons. I was taught, this is the role you play. This is the grades you have to make. This is how you are allowed to dress. You are not allowed to do these things. And if I get caught doing these things, if I do not live up to these standards, it was like love was taken away. And I don't think they did that intentionally as trying to take love away from me. I think they did it as, you know what, until you start acting right, I'm not dealing with this. I really think that's what it was. I really think the extremely high standards were just their way of being like, you are a Black woman in America. You're going to have to work 10 times harder.
I understand their standards, but it's just the way that they
went about it.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like that affected relationships. Like, you treat me a certain way. Okay, I'm going. And I'm going. Like, it affected your relationships.
Definitely. That is 100%. I am very, very quick to end things. Very, very quick to end things. I'm very quick to be like, no, there's no second chance. Ooh, you know what? Steph pointed out to me the last time me and her spoke. When I make up my mind, I just make up my mind and go, and I don't give the other person time or the space to address the issue.
Yeah.
So like, I don't do that. I need closure, or I don't even do that like cuss out. You know what? I'm done with you. Blah blah. No, I'm trying to tell y'all I leave in silence. My exact thought process is, oh, you made me mad, or you hurt me. You did something that hurt me.
There's something I told you that I didn't want you. Yeah.
And then next it goes, I don't love you anymore. I have decided I don't love you. And then it goes, poop, where is my bag? Where is my shoes?
Yeah.
And then it's me leaving out the door in mid-conversation. And then I will literally not talk to them again. Like, I'm not stalking social media. I'm not sending like, I know we're not talking, but Merry Christmas. Like, none of the people not here.
No, you just done. Block, done.
I have decided I don't love you. So I just go on about my life. And then that's,
so I guess that's how, it affects your love life. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
It definitely affects my love life in that way. And so in regards to like us being mothers, it concerns me because I really feel like I don't do this to Craig. I know I don't do this to my daughter. Because after she gets mad, first thing she does is wants a hug. And then I go, Mommy loves you. Mommy is just very mad because you knew not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say things like that, and to reaffirm to her that yes, I'm angry. Yes, you got to get your little hand tapped, but you're still loved, and I'm still here. But even with that said,
that still takes time for me though. Like I regret saying this, but sometimes I feel like, okay, baby, I just gotta get a little space from you, cause I'd be so mad. So I'm just like, I have to get that together, because I go back and talk to her afterwards. But in that moment,
that works. I think that works. I think that works as long as it's going back and being explained, and they're not left to leave a conclusion on their own.
Yeah. It's always explained. Yeah.
Because I know with me, it was never explained to me that was the reaction. When I got older, I justified it in my head as well, because I didn't really get whooped. I didn't really get spanked, and especially the older you get, you don't really get whooped and spanked.
Yeah.
And I think in my head, I justified it as, okay, that was their way of trying to make a child go on the certain path. And they were just like, all I know is that my dad was strict, and so that's why I made sure I got a job and I went to school and blah 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 blah. So I gotta make sure I gotta do the same thing to my daughter.
Right.
But I got no explanation. So when you shut down as a way of trying to teach me a lesson, I learned that that's how you communicate love, because I knew they loved me. But that was their interaction with me. So when you do that, that's how I now perceive love. I perceive love as something I can turn on and I can turn off. I perceive love as something I can walk away from. And it's not good. And you know what's funny? I didn't realize that was not good until last year. I used to love it. I used to love being able to say that. Like, it's fine, because I will stop loving him and I will go about my way. And even if, and I won't say it that way, there are a lot of people I can't actually just on a dime, but I will say I have come across 2 individuals in my 30 years who have managed that I did shut it off, and they managed to linger in my mind.
Yeah. But
that was it.
But you're never gonna act on that though.
Yeah. There was never I need to reach out to them. There was never never know. I should unblock them. I should unsend that report to Facebook. Yeah, I didn't know none of that. I didn't have none of those thoughts. But
yeah.
I do miss him. And dang, maybe I should have reacted differently. Well, on to the next one. Like, and that was just my thought. But up until last year, I thought that was normal. Up until last year.
Definitely not normal. Yeah. Definitely not normal.
Yeah. I mean, I got hints that it wasn't normal, because I would see you in your relationships and you were like, you know what? I was wrong, so I am going to apologize. I am going to speak to him, and I was like, apologize? Since when do
that's what we have to do.
No,
it takes a lot, though. It took me a lot to do that or get to that point. But I also think just being in a good relationship helped. Yeah, to be in a good relationship. Like, I had some bad in my good relationship, but overall it helped me to learn how to communicate more and be more open, I guess. Because I'm just like you. Like, I was just like you, even with the good relationship. Like, I remember when I was with, who I was engaged with. Like, I remember, like, he would piss me off when we were dating, and I would just be like, you know what? I just blocked the number. And then
Yeah.
Like, then when I unblock it, he be like, why can't I get in contact with you? And it's like, because you just said something I didn't like. And I didn't. So I think it just takes growth. It just takes growth, I guess. Because I was there. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did do that. Like, you said a lot that I didn't like. And that, nah, we ain't going to do that. I'm going to block you for a little bit. You come back when you get that right. Yeah. So,
look.
I definitely agree. It just takes growth.
But you're right though. I do think the right partner also can help you grow. I really hate this mentality because I feel like I see it on social media all the time where people are just like, yeah, you need to be by yourself and you need to be fully healed and blah 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 before you get yourself in a relationship. And I'm just like, none of us are fully healed
at all.
I know people who are amazing therapists who have been doing this work for 30 something years that are just amazing people, great advice. And I've seen them because I know them personally practice this advice. But even they're like, oh girl, that's not even half my skeletons that I got to get through. So I really don't like that mindset of like, no, you have to be fully healed. I know. You just have to not be in the midst of battling your demons.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, as much as you can, like, attract a toxic person, you can also grow with a person. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah,
y'all can grow together. Like, I mean, we're all growing. Like, we're never stop growing, or we never stop learning, or maturing, or getting better. So it's just like, you don't have to be this whole healed person. You just have to have somebody that's willing to take on those battles with you, and you helping each other grow. So that's what I think. Because when I fell in love or whatever, when I fell for my fiance, it was like, we definitely helped each other grow. We definitely was not whole people. I mean, I know I wasn't, but it's just like, you can help each other just as much. Like I said, just as much as the toxic relationships bring out the worst in each other, good relationships can bring out the best in the growth in each other.
Yeah.
So
they definitely. Yeah. And even, and there's just some people that, they may not be in your life long, but that situation can help you grow. Definitely. Now, I'm not saying stay in the ones that are toxic.
No, don't stay in those toxic relationships. We're not saying that. No, not at all.
But I will definitely say the last two people I took serious were completely opposites, and they were also completely the same. But one person A, it was toxic. It was very toxic, and it was trauma bonding, and it was, oh my gosh, I found it really felt like I found my twin flame type of thing. Except like we were like twin pieces to like a really, really bad thing. That's what it felt like. Where it was just like, you look back, and I grew from that, but it grew out of pain.
Yeah. I
didn't grow from that as, I'm glad this is teaching me this, and I'm a better person from that. No, my growth out of that was just like, you know what? Never again. And then in the midst of that, I recognized, like, yeah, because never again should I be with someone who encourages my toxicity. Never should I be again in a relationship with someone who's comfortable in my toxicity. So I don't even have to grow because they're not requiring me to grow.
Like that. Yeah, definitely.
And then I had person B who like definitely ticked me off. Definitely did something to tick me off, but they were good at communication. They had great examples in their life of people that communicate,
and they also called you on your shit sometimes.
Yes,
that's the thing. That's what it was with me. Like he would do that, like quick in a hurry, but okay, yeah. I get what you mean. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna chill.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I remember one time we were after the, me just walking away. We were somewhere, and I legit walked away from him. Then I talked to him for 3 days, and he finally reached out to me, and we were like talking about, he's like, okay, so let's talk about what made you mad. and let's talk about blah blah. And one of the things he said to me, that afterwards I had to think about it, and I'm like, you know what, actually he's right. Which was, he was like, yeah, but Russ, also you hear things differently than how people say them.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're already mad, you morph the conversation. You add on things to the sentence that were never said.
Mm-hmm.
And you take away things. And he's not the first man to tell me that. But because we were able to have it in a calm conversation, and it wasn't in a way where it felt like he was attacking me or accusing me. It was a way where he was like, okay, but so let me explain why I feel like there's so much tension here. And he's like, because this is what I said, and what you're telling me is that this is what you heard.
Yeah.
But these two things are very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, do you recognize that? Do you recognize that our stories are completely different, and that your story is like 98% impossible to happen? All right, well, I guess the aliens didn't crash here and tell you off and gave me those keys to your password. I guess they didn't.
Right.
You might be right. That might not have been how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to grow. I was able to grow from that situation.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Even though I had to leave that situation, it was like, okay, but I left a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is how I think you're supposed to be. Did he leave a better person?
I don't know.
I feel like he's talking to his therapist about me right now. I personally feel like I did both of them a service. I feel like they're going to end up making a book, and it's going to be a top seller. And I feel like it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like the adventures of having to deal with Russ. Series 1 through 3.
Yes.
But okay, so one of the things I did want to get into was, with that emotionally shutting down, with that keeping things closed and then eventually exploding once you're fed up, what do you think your actual reason for that is? And let me explain what I mean by that. The way I look at it, for me, I emotionally shut down because I was never allowed to be vulnerable. And maybe I shouldn't say I wasn't allowed. Being vulnerable was expressed in two ways in my life. And one way I saw as so weak that I was like, I will never be that vulnerable with a person so they can hurt me like that. And then the other side of that, at least during childhood, teenhood years, was I didn't feel safe being vulnerable because I didn't feel heard when I was vulnerable. So it put me in a box of being like, okay, this is something you have to keep to yourself. I never learned to manage it. So when you are vulnerable and you have not allowed yourself to be vulnerable in years, it's like a fish out of water. You don't know how to react to that. And so for some people, they lay there and die. And for other people, they flapping, they going off or whatever. But you don't know how to react to that. And I think that is one of my triggers. One of my biggest triggers is feeling vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be a good type of vulnerability. Sometimes it can be like, wow, I am really, really falling for you. And I feel comfortable telling you things. And I'm allowing myself to get used to seeing your face 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. I am allowing myself to get used to texting you throughout my whole day. I am used to only seeing you now. That was a thing. I know. I am going to cut people off because I only want to spend time with you. And that was a thing that triggered me, because now it's like, okay, now I'm putting my trust. I am putting my heart in your hand, and I am now saying, okay, I'm not going to have all these other things that I normally use as distractions.
Yeah.
So I can't get hurt. I'm taking those away specifically for you. And then once I realize that, my body shuts down. Like, oh, no, we're not doing that.
See, I don't think that I can sometimes open up all the way because I don't like rejection, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I get so nervous about saying, so what are we going to do? Because if it's not the answer that I like, I shut down. And it's just like, okay, I'm moving on. But maybe I should hear them out. But nah, I just need to move on because rejection isn't what I want to hear. I don't do rejection with friends, family, nobody. I don't like rejection. So it's just like, instead of getting the rejection that I might get, it might not even be the rejection. I just don't indulge in it, or I'll just stay quiet, I guess, for the most part. I don't get the answers that I need because I'm scared of the answers, because I don't like rejection.
But I think that's common.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's common in both men and women.
Yeah.
And you know what I blame them telling us we was perfect all our lives.
Our dads?
No, everyone. Teachers giving me stickers.
Yeah, participation certificates.
Right. When they know I told them that was a cat and it was a cow.
Yeah.
And they still gave me the sticker.
That could be it.
With that.
Yeah.
I'm not being serious with that, but I do think some of it plays into, I think a lot of times with parents, they don't allow you to fail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't allow you to have certain experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when you become an adult, you have that experience once and it's an unpleasant experience. And you're just like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
So that was rejection. I'm not gonna.
You're not feeling the same way I am, or you're not thinking the same way. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can definitely be talked out. It could be compromisable, probably, but it's just like, I don't like that feeling. Like,
And I think just reassurance, and I hate when I feel like I hear people talk about reassurance. They make it seem like it's a clingy thing or a clingy way, and I guess it can be if you need it all the time. But
once you give me that one reassurance, like, I don't really need consistent. I just need to know. Like, but if you never, like, you always leaving me in limbo, it's just, yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I 100% agree. Yeah. I think with a lot of people, if you just make sure it's clear, like, hey, I like you, you like me, I am going to keep trying to make this work.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put it in work.
As long as that is there,
yeah,
I think it minimizes the rejection or the feeling of, oh, I'm going to get rejected. Or if it's like, okay, I'm going to get rejected for this one thing, but I know that this does not mean they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have expressed that to me.
Yeah.
No to this one thing, it does not mean I'm giving up or I don't care. It just means I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not ready to be
exactly.
in this place.
Yeah.
But lack of communication, that's a whole episode in itself.
For sure.
So with your rejection, do you think it causes you to avoid situations and events because you're just like, no, I don't want to be, I feel like that's a situation or event that has a likelihood, or not even likelihood, there is a possibility I can be rejected.
Yeah, I do avoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, like I avoid, if I feel like I might be rejected, I avoid a lot of stuff. But that does hold me back from, like, not even just relationship, just life in general. So it's stuff that I have to work through.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think with me that mine isn't so much rejection, it's vulnerability. And I think it causes me to self-sabotage in romantic relationships because I'm trying to learn how to view vulnerability as something that can be a good thing. But because for a long time I did not feel that vulnerability was a safe feeling to have. and it kind of creates a panic, but it creates a abort mission button in me. And I think because of that, with me, it makes it very hard for me to stick through in situations. And it makes it really, really hard for me to go further. Like, sometimes I'll meet someone and things are going good and they're going really, really good, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling vulnerable, and you do this one thing that now causes hurt, and now I'm feeling the bad type of vulnerable, and I will just be like, nope, I'm stopping the brakes, because this hurt me this much at this point. And if I forgive and we keep going on, my feelings are going to be deeper, and the hurt and disappointment is going to be deeper. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm not willing to risk that. And I think this year has really shown me that I have to learn to risk that. You have to learn to risk that. In friendships and relationships, I don't really include parenthood, just because that's not an issue with me with parenting. My daughter gets the most vulnerable side of me than anyone.
Same. Like, she knows me in and out. That's why they test us, because they know us. Yeah, but it's like, with friendships, like if I'm having a problem with a friendship, I might not speak up because I don't want to hear that rejection. So it is like that with everything. I don't really like that about myself. I'm trying to, like, this year, like, be more accepting to rejection and understand that it's not me. It's not me. It's what that person feels. It's what that person's going through. It's just not me personally. I had to try to separate the two. I'm trying to be more accepting of it, because I can't, like, you're gonna have to accept some rejection. So I'm really just trying to be accepting of it and kind of move on and just understand it as it is. You know what I mean? So.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to not view vulnerability as a weakness. I think that is the core of it. I view it as being weak. I view letting someone get to a point where they even are able to hurt you emotionally. I don't know why. It's almost like embarrassing to me. Like, talking to you about right now has me feeling really anxious. And I think that's one of the things I've been actively learning or unlearning. The things I've been doing for, let me see, emotionally shutting down, not showing vulnerability. I've been trying to be more conscious of it and using it when I'm dating now. Also, I've been more open with people I'm dating now from the beginning, so they know what they're getting into.
And that's always good too.
Yeah, I really wish men would do that more. But there's two individuals that I talk to now, and one of them from jump, like, we had a whole conversation about where are you in life and what's going on in life, and I was like, hey, by the way, I have a avoidant anxious personality type or relationship type. And they're like, what is that? And I broke it down, and I was like, hey, so sometimes when I feel vulnerable, I feel the need to self-sabotage. So when things are going really good, lovey-dovey, and I all of a sudden pull back, that is what's going on. And I had to break other things down. So, like, I get mad and I will just end stuff right there, and I really mean end and go about my life. Now, I was like, if you reach out, I will. I was like, if you give me the time to calm down and reach out, then I'm more able to communicate. And with that person, we have been calling each other on our shit. We have been calling each other on our shit. Last weekend, matter of fact, I had called him, and he didn't pick up. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And I just went about my weekend. I had it lined up another day. Went about my weekend. And I got a phone call from him this morning And he's just like, hey, are you mad at me? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, so I haven't heard from you all weekend. And I was like, yeah. He's like, why? And I was like, oh, you didn't answer my call, so I'm done. And he was just like, what? I was like, you didn't call back. And in my defense, ladies, I do want to say I didn't call back. I mean, he didn't call back. He didn't send a text after, whatever. So in my head, that is, I don't want to do this anymore.
But that's reasons. Like, I would do the same thing.
Right.
I would do the same thing.
But when we talked, we did communicate. We had a discussion about it. And when we talked, one of the things he said was, no, that's not how it happened on my side. He said, on my side, you called, and as I was picking up, you hung up. He was like, and then you hung up with a puff. He was like, click. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. I didn't know he picked up. And he was like, and so when you hung up with a puff, I'm like, she's mad. Okay. I know she likes to have her space when she's mad. And he was like, oh, and then he's like, and I just kept waiting for you to be like, okay, I'm calm now. And he's like, and I waited. And he was like, he never said you was calm. And then he said, I sent you a period. Literally just sent me a period, thinking like, okay, if she see that, she gonna send a question mark or something. I saw that and rolled my eyes and went about my way.
I never knew he answered.
Yeah, send a period. And I was just like, oh, that must be like an accidental thing, and went about my way. And he was just like, okay, so we were both really about to part ways when we have a great connection because I didn't answer the phone and because I thought you hung up the phone angrily. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah. And then we had a whole discussion about it. Like, hey, so you know what? We need to stop making assumptions. Yeah. We need to check in with the person. And I appreciate that. There's someone else who is far more difficult to talk to, but lately we've been more open with each other about, hey, this is who I am, and this is how I communicate, and this is how I'm trying to learn to communicate better. Mm-hmm. And this is what, if you want this to be something, this is what I need you to do, and this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And we weren't able to have that conversation. It was not a linear conversation. I will tell you that. But that's really one of the active ways I've been trying to change. I've recognized what the problem is, try to figure out what I think was the root of that, and then when I try to be very, very conscious of the situations as they're going on, and once I pick up like, oh, no, this is your vulnerability, this is you being scared of vulnerability. That's what this is coming from.
It's coming, yeah.
And it's just cognitive.
And just like you guys talked, like you could have been still mad at him and didn't answer that phone call because again, for me, it could be like again rejection. But then you answer that call and he'll tell you can talk it out. So it's just like you being vulnerable and me like accepting reality. Like, it's not always going to be always bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like opening up to being vulnerable, open up to just hearing the answers, I guess, for me, like hearing it without like being scared of it not going the way I want it to go. So
yeah. Do you have any plans of like how you react when it, on the occasion it does not go the way you want it to go?
I think I have to have self-talk before. Like, okay, this may not go the way you want it to go, but you have to accept it. That's their truth. That's their beliefs, or that's their truth, or that's how they feel. You just have to accept it, because I'll shut down. I shut down, but I won't. In the past, I would literally go off. I would cuss you out. I'll go off. But now it's just like, okay, let me get off the phone to process this. Which I don't know if that's good or bad either. But I'll get off the phone, I'll process it. I'll call back later and talk about it. Like, and
I can vouch for that. You do that. I can vouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't want to cut someone out. Because it's just like, that's how you feel. That's how you truly feel. That's just you. Like, you can't get mad at somebody the way a person feels or whatever. So it's just like, I just have to step away from the moment. But now I just have to like, okay, you're not doing this for them. You're expressing how you feel. That's how you feel. and you might not get the feedback that you want, but you have to be okay with it. So I really had to have self-talk beforehand and be okay with it, which is hard. It's hard. It's a work in progress, but it's hard. But I have to go through those tough moments. Like, you have to get there instead of talking yourself out of it. You know what I mean? So I guess it's me being vulnerable too, but I never really thought about it vulnerable. I just keep on thinking about rejection. Because in the right situation, I think you're just vulnerable. Like, with my late fiance, I was more like, okay, I want to be with you. Like, I remember I told him, like, what are we doing? I want to be with you. He was like, okay, I want to get to know you more, a little more. I want to be more friends, and I want to build our foundation. Like, I was more okay with it because I think I don't know. Like, with him, it was like I was more okay with, okay, you might be right. Maybe I am trying to rush into something, but with somebody else, but everybody else, I just don't like rejection. So I guess it's like the right person can bring out good stuff in you again. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's different.
I definitely think having the right person is a big part of it. Not saying that you need to rely on another person to help yourself get right.
No.
I think while you're already working on yourself, having the right person there that's going to help encourage that growth, that's going to be understanding of, okay, this is something she's working through, is incredibly important. I feel like the thing that I'm doing most, again, is just being conscious of it, being upfront with people about it. Like, hey, these are my struggles. Call me out on it. And then just while I'm being conscious of it, like you, I still need breaks.
Yeah.
I still need breaks. I had a situation like 2 weeks ago where an individual like made me mad, and I was just like, okay. And I just stopped. I stopped communication with them. And I was like, I'm done. I was telling all my girls, like, no, I'm not dealing with that, man. I'm not dealing with this. And not dramatically, but just like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. And then after talking with a friend actually about it and just going through, and they were like, hey, oh, you know what? I keep saying it, and like, the person is not you. I was talking to you. I'm pretty sure it was talking to you. And you were just like, yeah, but is that what you're trying to work on?
Yeah.
Isn't that what, what you struggled with in the past? And it made me realize, again, having people that's willing to call you out on it. And I had to stop and go back and communicate with them. I'm like, you know what? That was immature of me to just end the conversation.
Exactly.
Just go about my life. But I was like, let me explain to you why I did that. And then we were able to have a back and forth conversation of, okay, this was my perception. This was your perception. Okay, but what was the reality of this? Okay, what can I do to minimize you feeling that way? And what can I do to let you know ahead of time, like, hey, you are about to press a button that's going to make me want to leave.
Yeah.
So, we all have our emotional triggers. We all have the things. I just think it's really important to recognize them, especially when you see them playing themselves out again and again in your relationships, whether that be with family, friends, or a significant other. I think also for me, that was a big thing, is I had a situation that happened, and I was like, this is like the third time this has happened. And I had to really look at myself like, okay, but you did it. So you walked away. Why do you keep walking away?
Yeah.
On seemingly happy situations.
Yeah. Like, even if some stuff didn't work out, at least you talked about it. At least you, like, maybe, okay, maybe he was an asshole in reality. Or maybe it was something I needed to work on. But at least we walking away knowing what the hell happened. So, yeah.
But I do want to say, I do not believe in closure conversations.
Not closure conversations. But this hurt me. Like, I'm thinking right now, because this hurt me. Like, this is what I thought we had, but you're showing me something different. Okay, that's how you feel. That's how I feel. Okay, But not like going back, like, we need closure. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't want to. Sometimes I be wanting closure conversations. But if that's not what you want, that's not what you want. But
I just, you know what? I really view closure conversations as, please tell me something to make me be like, well, we can work on this.
Oh no, I don't. Yeah.
I don't
think I view it that way.
That's not a thing. But I feel like from some people that I know, or experiences that I was familiar with, it seemed like, no, what you're asking for is for them to give you a reason to stay. It's not really closure of.
I'll be thinking, I want to know the reason you did it. You know, I don't think I want to know a reason to stay. Like in my personal situation.
So are you saying you want more of like a reason to?
Why did you hurt me? Why was this not it? Or why? What turned you off? Like, say, or you could say, oh, I thought that you were too clingy. Like, or you could say, like, you were too clingy, or you wanted something I wasn't willing to give. I didn't want to be in a relationship yet, and you deserve to be with someone who wants to be with you. Like, stuff like that. I don't really want you to tell me something that makes me want to stay, because if you hurt me, you hurt me. I just want to know, like, what is the reason that you don't feel this way or something like that.
No, and I think that's different. I definitely think that's something different.
Yeah, or saying, or a guy is telling you one thing and doing a whole different thing. Okay, why were you? Okay, what do you really want with us? You know what I mean, like that. Yeah. Like, or what did you want? Or is this not what you want? Like, I just want to know the answers.
Or which personality? Which one's the fake one? Which one's the real one?
Yeah.
So I can decide.
And sometimes it could be like, some situations it may be like something I had could fit, but other situations it could be like, okay, you know what? You're telling me this, I can understand it, and it's like reaffirming that, you know, we just don't need to be together because we're on two different. We want two different things.
Yeah.
So. But it just helps. I just think I want to take it like from a growth perspective, or okay, I'm not gonna deal with that anymore because I went through that and that's not something I want to deal with. I'm not gonna, you know. But I don't think it's wanting to stay, because when I'm kind of done, I don't want to force you to stay with me if you don't want to.
I agree. I agree. I think I'm very good at banalities. Like I can I can end and just end. So when I think what I need to work on is when I meet people who linger after, because usually people don't linger. Like usually, unless you specifically come talk to me or say something, now I have to get you back on my mind because I have to respond to this. People don't linger. So on the rare occasion when I do have people that linger, you know, those are the people that I have to stop and say, okay, is this something worth going back to talk about? Is this something worth explaining why you left? Explaining why you just ended stuff, blocked everything, and then went about your life. Because obviously this is affecting you more when usually it does not affect you at all. So I think that's also another important part, at least for my journey, is recognizing that. Because I'm very good at shutting down. I'm very good at blocking off or saying like, yeah, I don't love you no more, and just going off. And I don't want to pass it on to my child. That's my biggest thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
I want to eventually be a non-toxic partner. That's a conversation I had to have with myself as well. Like, yo, I think I'm toxic. Like, I think, I don't know if you remember this, but I had posted on Instagram like a couple of weeks ago. And it was after having this like inner dialogue with myself where I was like, you know what? Since I was in high school, I thought I was a Carrie Miranda from Sex and the City. And I was like, and that's what I kept telling myself. But you know, now that I've been in therapy, I think we both agree that I'm actually Mr. Big. And that was a revelation. That was a whole revelation. Because I really was seeing myself as the, like, not the victim, but like the hurt party that had to do what they had to do and go on. And it took some real maturity. Like, no, you was out here hurting folks. And you
Right.
And you then decided to make yourself the victim when you was actually the person with the gun. But that was something hard to come to, because I think a lot of times we do want to say, like, no, they were toxic. I was in a toxic relationship. They were toxic. When the truth of the matter is, we had our toxic.
Definitely.
Toxic points as well.
Definitely.
All right. So I am going to wrap it up for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got something out of this. We have an Instagram page up, She Wolf Alchemy. We will be working on getting our Twitter page up. There was a confusion with the name, but once we get it up, we'll give it to you guys there so you can follow. Again, the Instagram page is She Wolf Alchemy Podcast.
Follow us.
All together, one word.
Listen. Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna post, pictures. Feel free to comment, especially if you want to comment on certain things that we talked about today, or if you're like, hey, I really wish you guys would have explored this point more. Just leave it in the comments on Instagram, or you can DM us on Instagram. Yeah. Please follow. We're gonna follow back, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their week.
Goodbye.